Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A very warm welcome on behalf of Inishrat Island, Govindadwipa, for this Monday morning Srimad-Bhagavatam discussion. Today we are reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retired Timely, text 35. Before we discuss on this verse, let's sing Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Gopijana Vallabha Girivara Dhari, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jaya Nitai Sachi-Nandana Gaura Hari, Nitai Sachi-Nandana Gaura Hari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील ऐसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu Krishne Matirastu. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely, Text 35. Yathā matsyādi-rūpāṇi dhatte jahyād yathā naṭaḥ bhū-bhāraḥ kṣapito yena jahau tacca kalevaram. Yathā matsyādi-rūpāṇi dhatte jahyād yathā naṭaḥ bhū-bhāraḥ kṣapito yena jahau tacca kalevaram. Yathā matsyādi-rūpāṇi dhatte jahyād yathā naṭaḥ bhū-bhāraḥ kṣapito yena jahau tacca kalevaram. Word by word. Yathā, as much as. Matsyādi, incarnation, as a fish, etc. Rūpāṇi, forms. Dhatte, eternally accepts. Jahyād, apparently relinquishes. Yathā, exactly like. Naṭaḥ, magician. Bhū-bhāraḥ, burden of the world. Kṣapito, relieved. Yena, by which. Jahau, let go. Tat, that. Cha, also. Kalevaram, body. Translation. The Supreme Lord relinquished the body which he manifested to diminish the burden of the earth. Just like a magician, he relinquishes one body to accept different ones, like the fish incarnation and others. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is neither impersonal nor formless, but his body is non-different from him, and therefore he is known as the embodiment of eternity, knowledge and bliss. In the Brihad Vaishnava Tantra, it is clearly mentioned that anyone who considers the form of Lord Krishna to be made of material energy must be ostracized by all means. And if by chance the face of such an infidel is seen, one must clean himself by jumping in the river with his clothing. The Lord is described as Amrita or deathless because he has no material body. Under the circumstances, the Lord's dying or quitting his body is like the jugglery of a magician. The magician shows by his tricks that he is cut to pieces, burned to ashes, or made unconscious by hypnotic influences. But all are false shows only. Factually, the magician himself is neither burned to ashes nor cut to pieces, nor is he dead or unconscious at any stage of his magical demonstration. Similarly, the Lord has his eternal forms of unlimited variety, of which the fish incarnation, as was exhibited within the universe, is also one. Because there are innumerable universes, somewhere or other the fish incarnation must be manifesting his pastimes without cessation. In this verse, the particular word dhatte, eternally accepted, and not the word dhitva, accepted for the occasion, is used. The idea is that the Lord does not create the fish incarnation. He eternally has such a form, and the appearance and disappearance of such an incarnation serves particular purposes. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, the impersonalists think that I have no form, that I am formless, but that at present I have accepted a form to serve a purpose, and now I am manifested. But such speculators are factually without sharp intelligence. Though they may be good scholars in the Vedic literatures, they are practically ignorant of my inconceivable energies and my eternal forms of personality. The reason is that I reserve the power of not being exposed to the non-devotees by my mystic curtain. The less intelligent fools are therefore unaware of my eternal form, which is never to be vanquished and is unborn. In the Padma Purana, it is stated that those who are envious and always angry at the Lord are unfit to know the actual and eternal form of the Lord. In the Bhagavatam also it is said that the Lord appeared like a thunderbolt to those who were restless. Shishupala, at the time of being killed by the Lord, could not see him as Krishna, being dazzled by the glare of the Brahmajyoti. Therefore, the temporary manifestation of the Lord as a thunderbolt to the wrestlers appointed by Kamsa, or the glaring appearance of the Lord before Shishupala, was relinquished by the Lord, but the Lord as a magician is eternally existent and is never vanquished in any circumstance. Such forms are temporarily shown to the asuras only, and when such exhibitions are withdrawn, the asuras think that the Lord is no more existent. Just as a foolish audience thinks the magician to be burned to ashes or cut to pieces. The conclusion is that the Lord has no material body, and therefore he is never to be killed or changed by his transcendental body. Before we discuss on this verse, let's offer some prayers. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Shreshtham Manamapi Shachiputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Murupurim Mathurim Koshthavati Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Adadandastrinam Dante Idam Yachaha Punaha Punaha Shriman Rupa Padambhojam Dhulisyam Janma Janmani He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, Text 35. Yathā matsyādi-rūpāṇi dhatte jahyād yathā naṭaḥ bhū-bhāraḥ kṣapito yena jahau kalevaram. The Supreme Lord relinquished the body which he manifested to diminish the burden of the earth. Just like a magician, he relinquishes one body to accept different ones, like the fish incarnation and others. This is the verse spoken by Arjuna to Yudhishthira, and both are the Pandavas, pure devotees of Krishna. The pure devotees of Krishna are always engrossed in the thoughts of Krishna. Matchitta. Their life is engaged in the service of Krishna. Madgat prana. And they speak to one another about Krishna. Bodhayanta parasparam. And how do they speak to each other about Krishna? Kathayantascha mam nityam. Always. They're always speaking about Krishna and his devotees. There is no difference between Krishna and his devotees in the sense that they are connected to each other very strongly. So Krishna actually says that I am in the heart of the devotees and devotees are in my heart, and they know nothing other than me and I know nothing other than them. Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam toham madanya tena janati naham tebhyo managapi. This is the transcendental situation of the pure devotees of Krishna and Krishna himself. And in this verse, it is very clearly mentioned that Krishna's incarnations are eternally existing. So Krishna mentions why he incarnates. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamya. Whenever there is decline in execution of religious principles, then Krishna personally appears. And he appears in his unlimited transcendental forms. This is Krishna's, even though we have categorized lots of forms of Krishna, but actually Krishna's transcendental forms are unlimited. The example given in Srimad-Bhagavatam is that of the waves that come in the ocean. Can we count the waves that come in the ocean? If the whole lifetime, if we are counting the waves coming in the ocean, we won't be doing anything else other than counting the waves in the ocean. And for whatever duration this universe is existing, we can keep counting the waves in the ocean. But they keep on coming. This is the example given in the scriptures, Srimad-Bhagavatam, about Krishna's incarnations. They are unlimited. And in those unlimited incarnations, Krishna is doing his pastimes. And all those pastimes are attracting all the living entities in this whole universe. Leelaitani bhunani jayati ajasram. Ananda chinmaya rasatmataya manasu ya praninam pratiphalam smaratam upetya. So why is the Supreme Personality of Godhead incarnating in these unlimited incarnations? To give that transcendental experience to all the living entities in this universe. Ananda Chinmaya. What kind of experience do the living entity get when they are hearing about the pastimes of Krishna? Ananda Chinmaya. It's full of bliss, Ananda, and it's full of consciousness. Ananda Chinmaya Rasatmata, and Rasa. And it has got full mellows, transcendental mellows. Therefore, Krishna is said Raso Vaisaha. So he is the source of all the transcendental mellows. Any kind of transcendental mellow experienced by any living entity in this whole universe, the reason is because that Krishna is the source of those transcendental mellows. And whatever so-called happiness that we experience in this material world is but it's like a perverted manifestation of that bliss. So this is given in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Krishna mentions about how this urdhva moolam adhashaka ashwatham prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda savedavet. So Krishna mentions about a tree the roots of which are on the top, urdhva moolam, and adhashaka, and the branches are in the bottom. Krishna mentions about such a tree in Srimad-Bhagavatam. And Krishna says that is ashwatham prahuravyayam. It is avyayam. It is like an inexhaustible. Because this material world is, even though the material world comes into place and gets destructed, but the process of creation and annihilation is eternal. And it changes as well. So in the beginning, when the universe, material universe is created, it is in a pristine state. It is in a very pure state. That's the Satya Yuga. So in that Satya Yuga, the duration of life of the living entities is long, and in the Satya Yuga, the capability of meditating on Lord Vishnu is immense. The concentration levels are immense. So therefore, it is said that krite yad dhyayato Vishnu. So in the Satya Yuga, which is also called Krita Yuga, the main activity was meditating on the form of Lord Vishnu. And that is meditating for thousands and thousands of years. So that was the power of concentration at that age. It was immense. We cannot even imagine it in this age of Kali, which is the last age. There are 4 yugas. So Satya Yuga, it was meditating on Lord Vishnu. Tretayam yajato makhe. The next yuga is called the Treta Yuga, which was the sacrifices were done in order to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yajna Purusha. So Vishnu is the Yajna Purusha. So there is this Yajñārtha Karmana Anyatra Lokoyam Karma Bandhana. Tadartham Karma Kaunteya Mukta Sangha Samachara. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that all the work has to be done as an offering at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Yajñārtha Karmana. Anyatra Lokoyam Karma Bandhana. So Krishna mentions that otherwise in this universe it is Karma Bandhana. So what is Karma Bandhana? Karma Bandhana is this engagement in activities where one activity leads to another activity and one activity causes another activity. Why is one activity causing another activity? It is because when we are doing a particular activity, it is based on getting something. So when we think that I'm doing this pious activity so that I get back some pious credits in return, and I get to enjoy life even more. So when this thinking is there, then it is karma bandhana. It is one is bound to the material activities. The most important shift in thoughts, the most important activity of total mental shift is when we can clearly understand that this material world is temporary. Ashashvatam. Mamupetya punarjanmam dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramamgata. Until one comes to the point of 100% understanding that this material world is temporary and it is an abode of misery. Until then, one is in karma bandhana, in a state of one activity leading to another activity, which is leading to another life in this material world. So therefore, Krishna says, Anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So Krishna mentions to Arjuna that, therefore, O Arjuna, you do all the activities mukta sangha, free from attachment. And samachara, samyak rupena achara. So that means all the activities are taking place in equanimity, in an equanimous state of mind. So when one is not attached to the results of the activity and one is doing the activities with an equanimous state of mind, that is the starting point of coming out of this seemingly endless cycle of birth and death. And this seemingly endless cycle of birth and death is only for the conditioned living entities, not for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, and Srila Prabhupada actually quotes that verse as well, where it says, Avajananti mam mudham manushim tanmashritam param bhavam majananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. So, bhutadim mavayam. So this is Krishna saying that there are some categories of living entities who are considering Krishna to be a normal human being when he is appearing in that form of Dvibhuja Murlidhara, the person with two hands and who is holding the flute in his hand. That is Sri Krishna. So when he is appearing in that form, certain individuals who are totally in the conditioned state of existence think that avajananti, without knowing his transcendental position, mam, mudha. So Krishna is saying that unfortunately they are foolish because they are not able to see the transcendental state of Krishna. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanvashtam. So Krishna is coming as in the human form and they are not understanding param bhavam, the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ajananta. So this is the state of naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita Mudhoyam nabi janati mamebhya paramavyayam. Krishna mentions in another verse in Bhagavad Gita that he does not show his transcendental potency to everyone, or everyone are not able to see it. It's a combination of both. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita that ye yathā mam prapadyanti tam sthathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasya. Depending on how one is surrendering onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the revelation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also exactly the same. If one is not recognizing the transcendental position of Krishna, then for them, he is an ordinary human being. For one who is surrendering 100% to Krishna, for them, the Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maya Shritanam Naradarakena. So this is Itham Satam Brahma Sukhanubhutya. Dasya Gatanam Paradaivatena Maya Shritanam Naradarakena Sadhyam Vijahru Krita Punya Punja. So we have discussed this verse in the last week discussion as well, but it is very important in this context also, in the context of today's verse, where Srila Prabhupada mentions about the impersonal form of Krishna, the form of Krishna where the conditioned living entities are not able to recognize the transcendental position of Krishna, and Krishna's actual transcendental position, which is actually seen by the devotees who have surrendered onto Krishna. So these three categories are mentioned in that verse. So in that verse in Srimad-Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that Krishna is playing with his cowherd friends, and they are coming back after pasturing the cows. They're coming back, and Srila Shukadeva Goswami is talking about that particular scene to Parikshit Maharaj. And Srila Shukadeva Goswami is saying that Itham Satham Brahma Sukhanubhutya. So here is the person who gives the Brahma Sukha to the impersonalists. The impersonalists are not recognizing the transcendental form of Krishna. So there is this verse in Sri Ishopanishad which says that Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Apahita Mukham Tattvam Pushan Apavaruno Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye. That particular verse in Sri Ishopanishad is saying that, O Krishna, please remove your glaring effulgence. So that glaring effulgence is the Brahma Jyoti. Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Apahita Mukham Tattvam Pusham Apavruno Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye. So that particular verse is saying that, O Krishna, please remove the glaring effulgence so that the surrendered devotees who are in the path of worshipping you can see your glorious face, your beautiful face. And by seeing your transcendental face, they will get nourished. Tattvam Poshan Apavruno. So this is the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that particular verse is saying that here is the person who is playing with the cowherd friends. And he is the giver of Brahma Sukhanubhutya, Itham Satam. For the impersonalists, there is nothing higher than Brahman. Their goal is to merge into the impersonal Brahman. That is the goal of the impersonalists. So therefore, impersonalists consider the form of Krishna to be a means to attaining an end of merging into the Brahman. That is the difference between the impersonalists and the personalists. The personalists are the Vaishnavas who consider that the goal is to establish relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because the transcendental form of Krishna is transcendental. There is no trace of matter in the form of Krishna. Yeah, so therefore, sometimes the impersonalist philosophy is also called Mayavada. Why is it called Mayavada? Because it is stating that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is coming to the material realm, the impersonalists are saying that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepting a material body. Even though he is transcendental, he is accepting a material body. That is the concept of the impersonalists. Whereas the Vaishnavas, the concept is that they consider that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always in his transcendental body. There is no difference between the original self of Krishna and his external body. In our case, there is a difference. And that's why we have this Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, Dukkha Dosha Anudarshana. Birth, death, old age, and disease. So between birth and death, we have disease and old age. So this is the position of the conditioned living entities in this material universe. But the state of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotees is not like that. So we can, even though, this is, for example, Krishna in his transcendental pastimes, he is born, when he is born as Mahavishnu with 4 hands. Shankam, Chakram, Gada, Pangajam. So he has got the conch shell, he has got the chakra, which is a discus. He has got the mace, Gada, and he has got the Pankajam, the lotus, with 4 hands in the Lord Vishnu's form. So we see that when Krishna is taking his birth as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he is coming in the 4-handed form of Lord Vishnu. Can we see anywhere in this whole universe where this can happen in a normal circumstance, in a conditioned circumstance? Absolutely not. But can everyone have faith that Krishna actually appeared like that? No. So this is what Krishna says, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. That he is not visible to everyone. His transcendental activities are not visible to everyone. One has to have that premanjana. One has to have the love for Krishna. When one has love for Krishna, love for his activities, premanjana churita, the eyes are anointed with the salve of love for Krishna. Then one is able to understand the transcendental nature of Krishna. Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. And in that state, the pure devotee of Krishna is able to experience all those transcendental pastimes within the heart. Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Within the heart, the pure devotee of Krishna is experiencing all the transcendental pastimes of Krishna. And what kind of form he has? Yam Shyama Sundaram, Achintya Gunaswarupa. So his form is a Shyama Sundara form. So it is like a dark form and fully beautiful. So we cannot, in this material world, there is no comparison to the transcendental beauty of Krishna. Venum Konantam Maravinda Dalayataksha. So he's got Venu, that is a flute. And his eyes are like the petals of the lotus flower. Arvinda Dalayataksham. Barhavatamsham Asitambuda Sundaranga. So he has got the peacock feather on his head. Barhavatamsham Asitambuda Sundaranga. Ambuda. So it's like the new clouds. His complexion is like the coming of the new clouds. Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobha. So his attractive beauty is like millions of cupids coming together. In this material world, we know the cupid It is the cause of the love between the living entities. So they give that example that the Cupid has put his arrow on the person, on the two people who are in love with each other, and the love becomes so strong. So that is in the material world, that is a Cupid concept. In the spiritual world, this is everything is in relationship with Krishna. All the activities are taking place in relationship with Krishna. That is the difference between the material world and the spiritual world. In the material world, the attraction is towards matter. And when the attraction is towards matter, we are going to keep getting a material body. But when the attraction is towards Krishna, the spirit, the supreme spirit, the supreme person, then we are going to get a spiritual body, a body which does not have birth, a body which does not have disease, a body which does not have old age, and a body which does not have death. That is the body that we are going to get if we are attached to Krishna. So therefore Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karmam cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyaktva deham punarjanmam naiti mameti so Arjuna. It's a very important verse in Srimad-Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is very clearly mentioning that everyone should understand that Krishna's birth and activities, janma and karma, are divyam, divine, transcendental. It's not like an ordinary conditioned living entity taking birth, growing old and dying. No, it is not like that. So this navayovanamcha. So this is Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Hadyam Purana Purusham Navayovanamcha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. This is Krishna. So he is Advaita. So Advaita has got different meanings. When an impersonalist is hearing Advaita, impersonalist is thinking that Aham Brahmasmi, and the whole thing ends there for an impersonalist. That Aham Brahmasmi Vakya is the only thing for the impersonalist. So impersonalist is thinking that there is only one and there is no second. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. That is the impersonalist concept. The impersonalist is saying that there is only Brahman and everything else is false. And Brahman is so the concept that they give in impersonalists is that of a clay. They give the example of the clay, and they say that the clay is one, but from the clay one can make pots of all types. Not only pots, one can make lots and lots of different shapes. But the concept is that the clay is the cause of all those unlimited shapes. So they give this example and they say that everything is Brahman, and the Brahman has taken all these different forms. So that is the impersonalist concept. So the Vaishnava concept is that there is the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all the living entities. They are eternally existing. That is the Vaishnava concept. So in that existence, the relationship can be established. There is Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So there is a Shanta Rasa as well. And in the Vaishnava way, the Shanta Rasa has got its own significance. For example, the Shanta Rasa, Shanta is the state, they say that like that of the blade of grass in the spiritual world. It is in the Shanta Rasa. What is the Shanta Rasa? When the gopis are walking, or Krishna is walking, it is not because it is blade of grass, it is not in the state of other rasas like dasya, sakhya, vatsalyama. Dasya is a rasa where one is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the grass in the spiritual, blade of grass in the spiritual world can be said to be experiencing Shanta and Dasya, a mixture of both, because it is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead by being the blade of grass in the spiritual world. And at the same time, it is experiencing that Shanta rasa. And then there is Dasya. So that is the epitome of Dasya rasa is Hanumanji. So Hanumanji is constantly singing Ram, 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 Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. This constantly in that state of singing the names of Lord Ram. And he's the epitome of Dasya rasa, Hanumanji. Then we have Sakhya rasa. For example, Arjuna, Uddhava, they are in the state of Sakhya rasa, or the friendship. They are in the state of friendship with Krishna. Then Vatsalya rasa. Vatsalya rasa is that mellow where Krishna is as the son of the particular living entity. And in this case, the Vatsalya rasa epitome is Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj, or Devaki and Vasudeva. So they are in the Vatsalya rasa. And then Madhurya. The Madhurya rasa is the relationship of Krishna with Radharani, the relationship of Krishna with the gopis. There is Madhurya. Shri Radhika Madhavayor Apara Madhurya Leela Gunarupa Namna. This is said in the Guru Ashtakam. Pratikshana Swadana Lolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. This is the transcendental position of the Guru, who is totally attached to Krishna. So they understand these transcendental topics. It is not for the conditioned living entities. The conditioned living entities are not in that state of understanding the Madhurya Leela. It is the topmost Leela of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikriti Ahladini Shakti Rasmat Ekatmana Vapi Bhuvipura Deha Bhedam Gatavatav Chaitanyakyam Prakatam Adhuna Tadvayam Chaikyamaptam Radha Bhavadviti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. So that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has come in this age of Kali, and he is giving the love of Krishna Prema. He is Radha Bhavadviti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. He is actually Krishna, but in the form and in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And what is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying? Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that in this age of Kali, there is no other way, no other way, no other way except chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, iti shodashaka namnam Kali Kalmashanashanam. Nata Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. It is mentioned in the Kali Santarana Upanishad that there's 16 syllables of the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It destroys all the impurities in this age of Kali. So this age of Kali is it is called Dosha Nidhe Rajan. It's unfortunately, as we were mentioning in the beginning, as the age of this material creation has started progressing, there comes a time when this material creation has to get annihilated. So this Kali Yuga is the last age, and after this age, the universe is going to get annihilated, and then again the whole cycle starts again. Again, there is Satya Yuga, there is Treta Yuga, there is Dwapar Yuga, and there is Kali Yuga. So it's constantly eternal cycle. So there is an eternal cycle of the material universe. And in that eternal cycle of the material universe, The conditioned living entities are again eternally taking birth and dying, taking birth and dying. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. So this is said by Shankaracharya, who says that this is the material world where one constantly is taking birth and one is constantly dying. And then again birth, again death, again birth, again death. So it's unfortunately a constant cycle. And in the conditioned state, this is there is this jara and vyadhi, there is this disease and old age. But in the transcendental state of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is nava yauvanamcha. So as we were talking about that particular verse, so Krishna is Advaita. That Advaita means there is no difference between his body and his original spirit. They are the same in Krishna. That's why he is non-different, Advaita. So in the conditioned state, there is Dvaita. There is duality, Dvandva, Dvandva, Dvaitva. Those are all the words that are describing duality. So in the conditioned state, there is duality between the material body and the spiritual reality, which we are. We are actually, originally we are na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavitava nayava ajo nityam shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. As Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, the living entities are just like Krishna is eternal. The living entities are also eternal. But what is the difference between Krishna and living entity then? When Krishna is incarnating, he is incarnating in his spiritual form. When the living entities are taking birth, they are taking birth in the material form. So that is the difference. Therefore, Krishna is Advaita. There is no difference between his external body and he himself. Then he is Achyutam. Another name of Krishna is Achyuta. He never falls down. The living entities are susceptible to fall down because of the nature of the living entity. That's why the living entities are called the Tatastha Shakti. Tatastha is like one is in the beach, in the seashore. So in the seashore, the water is coming and going. When the water is coming, it is a watery part. When the water recedes, it is a land. So the example given is the living entities are like that. They sometimes understand the spiritual energy, and sometimes they are in the conditioned state. Unfortunately, the conditioned living entities are mostly in conditioned state. Just like in a shore, the waves coming in is only for a short period of time, but most of the time it is land. That's the metaphor given here. That is the state of the conditioned living entities. So that's why they are susceptible to fall down. So they are Achyuta, whereas Krishna is Achyuta. Krishna never falls down. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim. So Krishna Anadi, Anant. Anadi means one who has no beginning. And he is Anant also. He has no end. So someone who has no beginning and no end. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantam, Ananta-rūpam. And then he has got his unlimited forms, all transcendental forms. Ramadi Murtishu Kalani Yamena Tishtan, Nanavataram Akarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu, Krishna Swayam Samabhava Parama Pumanyo, Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So this is mentioned in Brahma Samhita, that Krishna has taken all these transcendental forms and they are all eternally existing transcendental forms. And the spiritual world is 3/4 of the whole existence. Athva bahunetena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyaham idam kritsnam ekanshena stito jagat. So this material world is just 1/4 of the whole Tripad Vibhuti. This existence, this whole existence, the spiritual world is 3/4 of existence. And in that spiritual world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in all his incarnations, unlimited incarnations. And he is also so costlessly merciful that he personally comes in all his transcendental forms to the material universe as well. This is the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when he is coming in the material world, he's performing his wonderful transcendental pastimes. So this is what we were saying, smarata mupetya. And when we are hearing about these transcendental pastimes of Krishna, then we can remember those transcendental pastimes. And when we are hearing and remembering and chanting, then we are in that state of spiritual bliss. We are in that state of existence, which is our real existence. So Srila Prabhupada actually always gives this example in many of his conversations, lectures, about someone who is suffering from jaundice. When they are given a sweet thing, it tastes bitter. And Srila Prabhupada continues, he says that the solution for that is that one has to keep tasting the sugar, and then one finally realizes that sugar is actually sweet, it's not bitter. This is exactly the metaphor given in terms of understanding the conditioned state of all the living entities in this material world. Because of this, because of being in that conditioned state, the living entities are not able to understand the transcendental nature of Namnamakari Baudha Nija Sarva Shakti Tatrarpita Niyamita Smarnena Kala Etadrashi Tava Kripa Bhagwan Mamapi Durdaivam Idrisham Ihajani Nanuraga. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions in Shikshashtakam, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna has got unlimited names, Bahuda, and each of those names have got unlimited power, Nija Sarva Shakti. And to remember those names, Tatrarpita Niyamita Smarnena Kala. There is no time, place, or circumstance to remember the holy names of Krishna. Even after all these conditions, Etadrashi Tava Kripa Bhagwan, you have been so merciful, Krishna, that you're giving us your unlimited names, and there is no time, place, and circumstance to chant and remember your names. Unfortunately, I am so Mamapi Durdaivam Idrisham Ihajani Nanuraga, that I have no taste. I have not developed the love for chanting and remembering your names. This is the unfortunate position of the conditioned living entities in this material world. And somehow or the other, if we can have this inclination of hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, remembering Krishna, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, the 9 types of devotional service that Srila Prahlad Maharaj mentions, then we can be in that state where Mameti Swarjuna, Janma Karmam Chame Divyam Evam Yaveti Tatvata Tyaktva Deham Punar Janmam Naiti Mameti Swarjuna. So then we will be in that state where we need not take a material body in this world, but we go back home, back to Godhead in the spiritual body, and having eternal relationship with Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So thank you very much for your time and listening. I would like to conclude this yathā matsyādi-rūpāṇi dhatte jahyād yathā naṭaḥ bhū-bhāraḥ kṣapito yena jahau kalevaram. The Supreme Lord relinquished the body which he manifested to diminish the burden of the earth. Just like a magician, he relinquishes one body to accept different ones, like the fish incarnation and others. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the devotees. Hare Krishna. There is some questions here. Mohit Mughal saying Hare Krishna. Alan Siupoli, Aquile Simmons, Dhruv Shah, Hare Krishna. I'm from Dwarka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Lord Vishnu. So Dhruv Shah is asking, who is more supreme, God Shiva or Vishnu? So this is one of the important points is that we should not be concentrating too much on this aspect, because there is if you are asking this question with an expectation that we want to have 2 different camps, Lord Shiva camp and Lord Vishnu camp, and we have to have friction between the 2 camps, then we should not be asking this question. If we are asking this question to understand the spiritual nature, then we can ask this question. And in that case, we have to understand that both are dear to each other. So there is Nimnaganam yatha Ganga, Devanam Achyutam yatha, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu, Puranam idam tatha. It is mentioned in Srimad-Bhagavatam that just like Ganga is the best among the rivers, Vaishnava, Devanam Achyutam, just like Achyuta, Krishna is the best, is the among all the demigods, Krishna is the god, and Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. Among all the Vaishnavas, Lord Shiva is the supreme. So we should not Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param Etat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. And then Lord Vishnu says to Parvati Devi that among all the worship, Lord Vishnu's worship is the best, but better than Lord Vishnu's worship is worshipping his devotee. And who is the supreme devotee of Lord Vishnu? Lord Shiva. So this is so we have to worship Lord Shiva in that mood. The Vaishnavas worship Lord Shiva in that mood. The Shaivas who are attached to Lord Shiva might worship Lord Shiva as the supreme, but it is their state of mind, and we respect that. I think this is very important. It is very important to respect whatever state of mind one is in, and then slowly one will reach a state where one will understand what is the transcendental position of all the living entities. So thank you very much, Rosha, for asking this question. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu, Krishne Matirastu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.